Every morning, millions of people wake up feeling an overwhelming sense of guilt, not because they failed, but because they simply couldn't fall asleep at 10 p.m. If you've ever been called lazy, unambitious, or disorganized just because your brain refuses to turn on before noon, you've been fed a dangerous lie. Modern society has turned the 5 a.m. alarm into a religion, forcing millions of natural night thinkers to live in a state of permanent brain fog, constantly apologizing for a biological clock they didn't choose. But what if I told you that your inability to function on a 9-to-5 schedule isn't a defect, it's an ancient psychological superpower? What if the very hours society considers wasted are actually the only time your brain is capable of legendary focus? In this video, we are stripping away the toxic myth of early morning productivity. I'm going to show you the exact neuroscience behind why your mind unlocks its highest potential only when the sun goes down. And pay close attention to point 5, because we're going to expose a subtle psychological trap that almost every night owl falls for, one that silently drains your energy without you even realizing it. If you're ready to stop fighting your biology and start using the silence of the night to your absolute advantage, keep listening. First, you don't actually hate the day. You hate the psychological noise of it. Think about a typical Tuesday afternoon. Your phone is constantly buzzing with notifications. Emails are piling up. Traffic is roaring outside your window. Your family, your boss, or your friends are constantly reaching out, needing an immediate response. Psychologists call this a state of high cognitive load. Your brain is operating in survival mode, forced to constantly filter through hundreds of microstimuli just to get through the day. Now, contrast that with 1 a.m. The streets outside are dead silent. The notifications finally stop. The invisible weight of societal expectations instantly vanishes. For the first time in 16 hours, nobody needs anything from you. When the external world goes silent, your brain drops its defense mechanisms. You exit survival mode and enter a rare state of deep mental bandwidth. That quiet isn't just lack of sound. It is a sacred sanctuary where your true self finally has room to breathe. Second, your brain experiences a fascinating neurological surge known as evening strength. Have you ever tried to solve a complex problem at 2 p.m., felt like your head was stuck in a fog, and then suddenly solved it in 5 minutes while sitting in the dark at midnight? That isn't a coincidence. Neuroscience shows that while early risers peak in cognitive focus shortly after waking up and steadily decline throughout the day, night owls experience a second wind of neural activity late in the evening. As the night progresses, the prefrontal cortex, the rigid, hyper-logical part of your brain that enforces social rules and overthinking, begins to tire out. Paradoxically, this drop in rigid filtering is exactly what unlocks high-level creativity. Your inner critic goes to sleep before you do. You stop over-analyzing your thoughts. You step into a state of effortless flow. And tasks that felt impossible during the day suddenly become intuitive. Stay tuned, because in just a moment, we are going to look at how history's greatest thinkers harnessed this exact nighttime surge to create their best work, and how you can replicate their process. Third, your body clock is an ancient biological trait, not a modern personality flaw. In psychology and biology, this is known as your chronotype, which is largely determined by your genetics and the length of your PER3 gene. Evolutionary psychologists believe that human tribes survived for thousands of years precisely because we were not all wired to sleep at the same time. If an entire tribe went to sleep at 9 p.m., they were completely vulnerable to nocturnal predators and rival attacks. Nature intentionally designed a portion of the human population to be the guardians, the individuals whose natural circadian rhythm kept them sharp, vigilant, and alert during the darkest hours. When you feel naturally wide awake at midnight, you are simply honoring an ancient biological program designed to protect human life. You carry the DNA of the watchman. You aren't lagging behind modern society. Modern society simply built a schedule that ignores basic human biology. Fourth, the night strips away all social performance. Think about how much energy you expend every single day just playing a role. You wear a specific mask for your boss, a different mask for your colleagues, another for your family, and yet another for social media. You are constantly managing how you are perceived by others. But in the quiet hours of the night, there is no audience. You aren't performing for anyone. This absolute lack of judgment allows you to be radically, unfiltered honest with yourself. It's during these solitary hours that you read the books that actually expand your worldview, write down thoughts you wouldn't dare speak out loud, and reflect on your life goals without the distorting influence of other people's opinions. The daytime invites performance, but the night demands truth. Now, as we move into the next point, I want to address that psychological trap I mentioned earlier, the double-edged sword of late-night thinking that every night owl must master if they want to avoid burnout. Fifth, you must learn to distinguish between creative night owl energy and revenge bedtime procrastination. Psychologists have identified a phenomenon where people who feel a lack of control over their daytime lives intentionally delay their sleep at night. You come home exhausted from a job you don't like or a routine that drains you, and you stay up until 3 a.m. scrolling aimlessly on your phone or watching mind-numbing videos. That isn't your nocturnal superpower at work. That is your brain desperately trying to reclaim a sense of personal freedom before tomorrow's routine starts all over again. The true strength of a night owl comes when you stop using the dark as an escape from your reality and start using it as a high-value workshop. When you replace brainless scrolling with intentional creation, whether that's studying, building a side project, writing, or deep self-reflection, you turn those quiet hours into an unfair advantage over the rest of the world. Sixth, you realize that discipline is measured by execution, not by the time on your alarm clock. Modern self-help culture loves to preach the toxic myth that waking up at 5 a.m. is the only path to high achievement. But discipline has nothing to do with sunrise. Discipline is simply your ability to eliminate distractions, honor your commitments, and produce meaningful work. A night owl who works with intense, uninterrupted focus from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. achieves far more real progress than someone who wakes up at dawn only to spend 4 hours shuffling papers and checking social media. What matters is the depth of your focus, not the arbitrary position of the sun. Seventh, living as a night owl builds a quiet, unshakable independence. Because the modern world is built for daytime dwellers, living on a nocturnal schedule naturally creates friction. You've had to deal with judgment from family members who think you're wasting your day, or colleagues who mistake your late-night schedule for a lack of ambition. But navigating this friction forces you to grow up psychologically. You stop relying on society's validation to structure your life. You realize that conventional rules are largely arbitrary, and you gain the confidence to design a lifestyle that honors your internal biology, rather than fighting it. And finally, as promised, Let's look at how you can fully protect this gift without letting it consume your health. Being a master of the night requires set boundaries. You must respect your sleep when you finally do go to bed, protect your physical health, and ensure that your night hours remain sacred spaces for focus, rather than chaotic habits. When you treat your nocturnal nature with respect, you stop feeling out of sync with the world, and you start leveraging the silence to build a life that speaks loudly during the day. So, how many of these late-night psychological traits resonated with you today? Are you using your night hours to intentionally build your future, or are you still fighting against your natural clock? Drop your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I read through them, and it's incredible to see how many deep thinkers are doing their best work while the rest of the world sleeps. If this video brought you clarity today, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, because in our upcoming videos, we will be diving even deeper into the psychology of deep focus, solitude, and mastering your environment. Embrace the quiet, protect your energy, and keep creating in the dark. I'll see you in the next one.